Well, welcome back. I'm very excited because I've got Suzanne Wells in the house. And Suzanne, I've been looking forward to this conversation for quite some time. And it's my understanding that you're running for judge in Piatt County, Illinois. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So, Suzanne, why don't you just tell everybody who you are? What's your background?
So I'm an attorney in Monticello. I have been an attorney for 32 years. I've been in Monticello for 22 of those years. I first started practicing in Will County. And then when our children were born, we decided we wanted to raise them in a smaller town, and my husband's from the area. And so we moved closer to my husband's family and moved to Monticello. So I've been an attorney for 32 years, 22 of those in Monticello.
So, Suzanne, where did you grow up?
I grew up in the southern suburbs of Chicago. So I grew up in Flossmoor. So I went to Homeland Flossmoor High School.
So how has it been for you in kind of growing up in suburban Chicago and now living in a more rural community in Piatt County?
Oh, it's been a delight. I am just thrilled. Monticello is truly unique. It is a small town, but without being small-minded. It's very active community. And like I said, we had family in the area, so we were pretty familiar with Monticello. I went to the University of Illinois, so I was familiar with Ellerton Park because I would come over and we would hike at Ellerton when I was a student at the University of Illinois.
So I just went to Allerton Park for the very first time, I think a week or two ago, and what a beautiful place to go for a weekend, hike, and I'm looking forward to going there with the different seasons as well.
Oh, you have to go to the Christmas lights,
Oh,
which is extraordinary. It is truly a gem, and so I was familiar with that, when I went to college at U of I. So Monticello was kind of a known entity for me, and we decided to raise our kids here. So they were 2 and 3 when we moved to Monticello way back in the day.
nice. So you said that you went to the University of Illinois. Was that for undergrad or for law school?
That was for undergrad. I have my undergrad degree in economics from the University of Illinois.
Great. And where did you end up going to law school, Suzanne?
I went to DePaul University in Chicago. And so I went to DePaul, which is in downtown Chicago. And I also clerked for a firm while I was up there, a large litigation personal injury firm when I went to law school.
So I love asking lawyers this question, like what inspired you to go to law school in the first place? Like, why did you want to be a lawyer?
I really have a passion for being a lawyer. I have an economics degree, which is a wonderful combination of understanding finances and monetary things and social, how that works in a sort of social setting. And but I always had a passion for being a lawyer, and so I did actually some independent research at the law school, and I lived not too far from the law school actually when I was an undergrad, and I would study in the law school library because I lived basically a couple blocks away, and that just being in that atmosphere of the library and the students, it was very exciting, and I couldn't wait to be a lawyer and go to law school.
So what has been the most surprising thing for you from, being in law school and learning about what lawyers do to actually being in private practice and really practicing law? Have there been any surprises?
I can't think of any. I mean, it's certainly, it's a passion. So it's the kind of work that you're going to um, love and hate. I mean, there's going to be things about it that you're really not going to like. I mean, you're going to hate injustice. You're going to hate things that are wrong in the world. And so, but you're going to love being able to serve your clients and to be a voice for them. And I had the wonderful opportunity. I had a wonderful mentor and my first boss, and he was amazing. And so I was one of the first women in a courtroom setting in Will County back in the day. And truly, you know, just getting in there and doing all kinds of trial type work. And my boss was very supportive. And so I had a great mentor in him when I first became a lawyer and started practicing.
So what would be your advice to maybe like women in the law, or like young women who are interested in going to law school? Any advice there?
I would say, you know, be a pioneer, really. When I was in law school, I clerked for a personal injury and medical malpractice firm right in the Loop. I knew I didn't want to practice in the Loop. Then I first worked in Will County, which was a fabulous place to be a young lawyer, very active group there, very active bar association. But then I moved to a more rural practice. And I would say be a pioneer, do something that you don't see other people doing. And so I moved to Monticello and literally just opened up my own office in a place where I didn't really know very many people. And that has been a wonderful experience.
Tell me about that experience. I mean, what was it like opening up your own law practice, especially in a community that you didn't grow up in?
Yeah, it was great. I had a firm in I had a law partner in Joliet, and we were the first female-owned law firm in Will County. And after I had my kids, I came down, you know, we wanted to come down here. So I literally I had a little office underneath the brown bag. And my kids were in preschool. So I would drop them off at preschool about 2 blocks away, and I'd run to the office and I'd work for an hour or two and then walk back and pick them up and go home. And that's how I started. And so I introduced myself to the judge, Judge Schunkweiler at the time, and I gave him my background and my references. And he soon started appointing me to child custody cases and really getting me involved. And the lawyers in Monticello were terrific, very welcoming. And so I found an environment that was a perfect fit for me.
That's great. So tell me about your law practice. I mean, I know that you do family law. You know, we've had experience working with you in family law. Do you do any other practice areas?
I do. You know, starting from my days in Will County, I've always had a general practice. And so what that means is we do a lot of the things you can think of that people need a lawyer for. So I have a heavy background in civil litigation because of what we used to do in Joliet. So I do civil litigation. I do a lot of real estate. I'm a business owner, so I represent a lot of business owners in forming their businesses and advising them on their businesses. I do criminal defense. Judge Schunkweiler actually appointed me as public defender. I did that for a while, and I still do some criminal defense work as well. I mean, just if, family law, of course. So and in a rural area, I think it's almost expected, that lawyers have some kind of level of competence in all those areas.
So how do you think that your experience and those myriad of practice areas is going to translate to your ability to be a judge?
That's a good question. You know, our rural community, Piatt County, our circuit judge, and I don't know if most people realize this, but our judge handles all these cases, and sometimes he handles many of them all on the same day. You know, in bigger counties, you will have a judge that hears probate or just hears, you know, the guardianships or some other things. In a rural county, our judge really does hear it all. You know, our judge today, I was in court this morning, our judge today was hearing a probate matter. He was hearing an order of protection matter. He was hearing a paternity matter, and a civil personal injury lawsuit. And that's just before noon. You know, that's not even his afternoon call. So our judge, from case to case, has to handle every type of matter that you can think of. And I witnessed that firsthand this morning. And so my practice involves all of the kinds of things that the circuit judge hears every day.
I think that would be so incredibly difficult as a judge to handle all of those different areas. You know, I don't do any criminal law, for example, so I think it would be very difficult to just hop in there and to be able to be a good referee with those various practice areas. So Suzanne, what inspired you to be a judge?
You know, for me, I feel like I can serve my community in a greater capacity as a judge than I can as a lawyer. And that's a big issue for me because I feel like service to my community is a big part of the benefit of being in a rural setting. So there's been lots of ways that I've looked to serve my community. But I think this is the natural extension of all the years of my experience in another way I can serve my community.
So for those that aren't familiar, if somebody is elected judge, how long is the term?
You know, this has been, that's a great question. This has been, I think, one of the most enjoyable parts of running for office is a little bit of a civics education. And so the circuit judge, which is the position I'm running for, is and I believe I'm correct on this, is a 6-year term. And circuit judges, you don't technically run again, but most people are familiar with looking at their ballots and they're going to see judges' names on there and whether they should be retained. And so this is a process that a circuit judge will go through. There will be periods of time that they will come up in front of the voters for a retention vote.
So if elected, what do you think that are your strengths that you could bring to the bench?
I think it's my experience, my background. I have experience in all the matters that the circuit judge hears. And frankly, the day that the circuit judge has is not unlike the days I have. I will have a criminal defense client. I will have a custody client. I will do a real estate matter. And then we'll sit down with somebody and do their will for them. And that's not an unusual thing for my day at all. So it won't be really a lot different than what I do every day as a lawyer in my office.
So I know we have a presidential election that's coming up here in a few weeks. This is a presidential election year. And I know I've said this privately and publicly, but I'm interested in your viewpoint that I believe that our local officials can play a bigger role in our everyday lives than even the President of the United States. So I don't know how you feel about that, but like, what do you think that the role is in just local elections and affecting the local community?
Yeah, I think, you know, and as a judge, it's a little bit different because your judge has a role that as a decider of fact and handling matters that comes before the court. And the judge's role is really to just be fair and equally minded when applying the law to the facts in front of them. I think it's been interesting to watch on the national stage. I think people are learning. We have a confirmation process with the Supreme Court judge. And so people, I think, it's forefront in their minds what a judge can and can't do as far as, what we can tell people about our political beliefs, which don't matter. As a judge, what matters is, can we apply the law effectively and fairly to the people before us? And so to the extent that that's, so that's very important locally, I think.
So there are people that are listening, they're like, well, I'm not involved in the court system. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a litigant. I've never been in court. Why should those people care about who's on the bench in their local community?
That's a great question, because I do get that question. Why does it matter to me? I've never been to court. I had a traffic ticket 12 years ago and I just paid it at the clerk's office or something like that. But you know what? I've thought about that, and I believe the courtroom is kind of like an emergency room. So you want to know that if you have to, and hopefully you won't have to avail yourself of the legal system so that you're in a courtroom setting. But if you are, and like an emergency room, I hope to not have to need emergency care. But when I do, I want to know that the people that are there are the most qualified and they are ready to handle whatever needs I have for them. So the courtroom's kind of an emergency room. You just want to know that the person there is going to be the hardest working, most effective person for that position.
I love that analogy. So tell me about your campaign and what lessons have you learned, with your campaign and running a campaign in the middle of a pandemic, much less.
Oh my gosh, it's been fascinating and truthfully, it's been enjoyable. As I was thinking about running, I actually read, so this, but Chief Justice Roberts is our Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court. So he does a State of the U.S. Supreme Court address in January. And so I was reading his remarks and I was considering running at the time. And he talked about the importance of civics education. And so my thought was, and I'm not sure it worked out that way, but my thought was I really wanted my campaign to have a lot of civics education for voters. Lots of opportunities to talk about why is this important? How does this work? What is the difference between a circuit judge and associate judge? And my favorite conversations have been people who have asked me that. How does it work? And if you're a judge, can I still go to you and have you do my will? And, that type of thing. And I love the fact that people feel very comfortable with asking me that. And the answer is no, by the way. But if I'm a judge, I'm a judge, and that's all I am. And so I think the civics education part of it, I just spoke to a woman yesterday and she's my age and she's never voted before. And she's going to go register so she can vote. And she has never done that. And she's really excited about it. So to the extent that I've encouraged people to get involved and to be educated voters, I think that's been my favorite part of the campaign for sure.
That's great. I mean, with local elections, especially, I think it highlights that every vote really does matter. I mean, your opinion and your vote matters for the people that are going to serve your communities. So.
Yeah, and I have found people that have people in the grocery store will come up to me and they will ask me a question about, am I running just in Piatt County or am I in lots of counties? And, because there are judges that are running in lots of counties. but my race is only Piatt County, but they don't know that. And it's wonderful to be able to provide that information to voters.
That's great. So I understand that you're not running as a Republican or a Democrat. So can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes, so I am running as a Lincoln Heritage Party candidate, and as simplify it best I can. So it was my desire to run as an independent, but I couldn't do that. I found out because I've voted in a primary. So that was my stated intention. So I had to shift a little bit. And so basically, I would say I've named my independent party. And I'm inspired by President Lincoln's legacy. So when I was choosing a name, I wanted it to be something that was meaningful to me. And I think his legacy is very meaningful.
So to go back to your campaign, what were some of your biggest goals with your campaign?
I would say we talked about civics education. And I really felt like my biggest goal was to reach people who are not normally reached in this process. So I've spent a lot of time in the smaller communities. I've spent a lot of time, and also the pandemic kind of forced some of these issues, but I do business drop-ins. So I go to the small towns and I just drop into all the businesses that are in the town, and I introduce myself and I ask the business owners about their business. Tell me about your business. And that for a business owner, that's second best to tell me about your baby. And they love that, and I enjoy it too. I have gone to village board meetings in every village in the county, and I have also gone to most of the township meetings, and so that I could see their work, and I would stay for the meetings so I could hear about their issues. And that's been fascinating. We have a lot of people that are working very, very hard, and I'm not sure how much I appreciated that. And now I know we have people throughout the entire county, in our township level, in our village board levels, that are working very, very hard on our behalf. And it was impressive to see that firsthand.
That's a great idea about the business owners. It was reminding me of an article that I read that when a business owner, and I am a business owner too, looks at their logo, what happens to their brain is very similar to when a parent looks at the picture of their child. So it is true. So what have been some of the biggest lessons from those conversations that you had, not only from business owners, but from other people in the community?
I would say, it really is just, in the village boards, going to every single meeting, or not every single meeting, going to every single village and attending their meetings, just seeing the challenges. They are, every single village is running a business, and they are dealing with employment issues. They are dealing with infrastructure, scheduling. It's a challenge. They're working really hard to figure out, the entire variety of issues that you can think of in a business. And so to me, I think that was the most impressive thing, is just learning about those issues and how each individual village is handling that.
So I know we have election day right around the corner. We're on the final push here, but for those listening that want to get involved in your campaign in any way, how can they contact you?
Oh, that's a good question. So I do have a Facebook page, and that does seem to be kind of a central location for people to interact with my campaign. They send me messages about signs. A lot of people remark to me about my campaign signs. And the funny thing about the signs is that I've never asked anybody to put a sign in their yard. That has all been people reaching out to me asking to get a sign. Now, sometimes people will come in and get 3 or 4, and so they'll put them in their, friends and family signs. But people have contacted me all over the county, and every evening I will go out and I will put up the signs that people ask for, and that's been just really fun. So people interact with me mostly on Facebook, I think is the best way.
That's great. Well, any other last closing thoughts or any other tips for how people can find you on the internet?
Not that I can think of, but Cari, thank you so much for this opportunity. In the pandemic, it's been very hard to reach voters so that they can get to know me a little bit better and get to know my background. And so, Cari, I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to do this today.
Well, thank you for your time. I really appreciate getting to know you more as well. So good luck with the election day.
Thank you. I appreciate it.